Deadpool and Wolverine. Was it any good? Does it help further the MCU along? How did this movie affect everything that we know going forward? We're going to talk about it. Welcome back, Geek Variants. So we are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. Me specifically, I have gone to see the movie, so this is going to be a quick recap over just kind of what happened in the movie, a couple quick thoughts and stuff like that, and we are going to get into a discussion later on when I have Brent on with me. We're going to go live and we're going to talk about his reaction to the movie, what do you see, and discuss a few things and see kind of where everything's going from there. But this is what I think so far after seeing it for the first time, strictly from a fan's point of view. So again, there are heavy spoilers in this. Everything that I'm talking about, there's going to be spoilers. There's going to be some Easter eggs mentioned. There's going to be cameos mentioned. So again, if you're not ready for any of that, bookmark this video, save it, come back later and watch it after you've seen the movie. I do think that everybody should see this movie because, again, this sets up for a lot of closure with other things that have happened within the Marvel Universe. So, that being said, we're getting into it. The movie starts off with Deadpool pretty much exhuming old man Logan's body, and he's telling the story about, why he needs to do this, and hey, we can't do this without having to desecrate this grave, so that's what we're gonna do. And he literally pulls out a body of Logan who is completely bones, adamantium bones, that's it. And just talks about, hey, this is not what I expected. I expect to see a live body here, and he shouldn't really be dead because he has a healing factor. Nope. It's just a skeleton. In the process of this, TVA shows up, and he gets into it with the TVA. Because he gets into it with the TVA, he uses the adamantium skeleton to fight off the entire TVA, killing everybody that is coming after him to the tune of Bye 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 by NSYNC. Absolutely hilarious. I absolutely love this fight scene. It was just really creative. And again, the jokes are abound all throughout this. Sexual jokes, cursing, violence, like just gratuitous violence all over the place. Everything that you expect from a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So very happy to see that they weren't really cutting corners with all that. Now, a lot of the sexual tones and innuendos and stuff like that are there, but as far as showing stuff on screen, all that's toned down, so they're not really showing a bunch of that. So anyway, we kind of find out a little bit more. We get that little flashback. It's like having the Avengers meeting, what's going on with the Avengers and why Deadpool wants to be part of the Avengers, and he's talking to Happy about it because Happy's the guy that can get him to understand, what he can do to be part of the Avengers. And Happy's just like, nah, can't do it. You're not ready. We'll keep an eye on you. Go do your thing. And ever since then, he's kind of been, Wade's just been downtrodden, not knowing what to do or how to kind of go forward. And he's been working with Peter, selling used cars and talking a bunch of crap about the Honda Odyssey, which is hilarious, and just trying to figure stuff out for himself. And we also get that cut to where we already seen that he's having a birthday. Everybody's there, all his friends and stuff are there. We see that him and Vanessa are not together. She's calling him buddy and pal and all this other stuff. And is really heartbreaking for him because, again, that's his woman that he's been, head over heels for throughout the first two movies. And it's just really sad to see him kind of going through that. But he's kind of just trucking through, and he ends up stepping outside to talk with the TVA who show up. And after a couple stripper reference jokes and stuff, he ends up getting taken by the TVA to where we see in the trailer. He's getting the kind of the whole spiel from Paradox, who is the main man, who was just like, hey, yo, your timeline is not going to make it. We need to prune it, but, we don't do pruning anymore. So it's just going to end. It's going to degrade. It's stopped. It's not continuing to grow like the other timelines do. It's just stopped. The reason it stopped is because he has lost his anchor point in that universe. That's the problem. because they do not have a Wolverine, a Logan that was their anchor point. That timeline is going to cease to exist. So, of course, Paradox is like, hey, I need you. I'm going to use you to get other stuff done. So, your timeline's going to go. Don't worry about it. We'll figure some other stuff out. Of course, Wade just hears, okay, I need to get a new Logan. So he gets him a fancy new suit, gets all dolled up with some adamantium swords, and goes back and is still like, yeah, no, we're just going to end your stuff and there's nothing else you can do. So he decides to go hunting. He's like, punches Paradox in the face, takes his tablet, and he decides to vanish. Like, I'm going to go find a Wolverine. And this is where we get the montage of the several different Wolverines throughout the universes where you've seen you saw Patch in the trailer. We see the Patch Wolverine. So he's sitting there. We see the comic accurate short Wolverine. He's there. It's Hugh Jackman. He's just shrunken down Slayers. We see Wolverine in his brown suit from the Uncanny X-Men 139, and he's squaring off against Hulk. Yes, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is there. They're getting ready to scrap, but this is old Hulk. So it's like getting ready to like scrap, not Smart Hulk. So we see we see the Wolverine versus Hulk. We see the Uncanny X-Men, one where he's crucified. I think that's from Uncanny X-Men like 250, 251, something like that, where Logan is crucified over the bed of like skulls and stuff. We see Old Man Logan on the porch. We see Weapon Omega, where he's missing the hand, and he just kind of got the little nub there, and he's still got the claws on the one hand. So see that going. And one of the funniest ones that we've seen before we get to the actual Wolverine that he's going to utilize is we see Henry Cavill as Wolverine. Absolutely fantastic. This is pure fan service. I was jumping out of my seat at how funny this was to have it, because they did this with us for, Reed Richards and stuff. And we got Krasinski as Reed Richards, and everybody was calling for it, fan service, but unceremoniously taken out. Not the case necessarily in this one. He's just there, in the classic Wolverine outfit with the jeans and the, tank top, we've been seeing movies. And he's just like, yo, that's Henry Cavill. It's great. He's not going, but we get pushed to our Hugh Jackman Wolverine in a bar, which was a classic setting for the trailer for the Sony PS5 game that we're supposed to see at some point in the future. So we see him there, and he's taking some drinks. Deadpool shows up and is like, yo, we got to talk. We got to figure this stuff out. He tries to get him to go, and eventually he just has to drag him there after he just gets completely hammered. And he's taking him back to the TVA. He's like, here, I got us a Wolverine. You can restore the anchor point. You can save my timeline, and we can be good to go. And Paradox is like, no. Not only did you get a Wolverine that's not going to matter, so that you got the worst Wolverine out of all the Wolverines you could have found. It's like, why is this one the worst Wolverine? He's already got, as he said, whiskey dick at the claws, because his claws weren't coming out. So you can tell he's dealing with something. He's already drinking, doing a bunch of stuff. So what is this Wolverine dealing with, and why is he the worst Wolverine? That's the question we're trying to figure out. So in the process of this, they end up getting pruned because Paradox is like, well, I can't deal with you two. You brought me the worst Wolverine. You're not doing what I need you to do, so you got to go. And ends up zapping both of them to the wasteland. Now, once they get to the wasteland, they're trying to figure out what are we going to do and how are we going to get back to where we need to go. And there is a figure sitting there who was like, yo, I can explain some stuff to you. This is what we need to do. You need to do this, 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 and we're going to have to deal with this. And we see a whole crew kind of coming in. So remember from the trailer, you got the montage of all the different vehicles and stuff coming in. They're coming to find Logan and Wade and see what's going on. And they end up capturing them. And the other person they ended up capturing who was there with them was none other than Chris Evans himself as Johnny freaking Storm of the Fantastic Four. He has reprised his role as Johnny Storm, and they get captured and taken to the giant Ant-Man like base with the fingers and stuff kind of sitting up like this. And hey, there's Nova and several other bad guys who we've seen throughout the course of just different, Fox properties, different Marvel properties within Fox universe. So we see Human Torch, we see Pyro's there, we see Juggernaut, and we see it's the Juggernaut from, when he was fighting, chased down Kitty Pryde, and called dickhead. We see Lady Deathstrike, we see Toad, we see Sabretooth, Azazel's there, Psylocke's there. It's not Olivia Munn Psylocke, but it's a different Psylocke. Cassandranova is running the show, and hey, she's just like, hey, these are my people. Go ahead and take care of them because it's a problem. But I've never had a Wolverine, so it's nice to have a Wolverine. Everything else can kind of go. So they end up kind of scrapping. And in the process of this, it's funny because you actually see Wolverine, where if you remember from the original movies, he talks to Sabretooth and says, like, how are you going to take me out? He's like, I'm going to cut your head off. See if that works. And that's exactly what he did, which was absolutely fantastic. Again, it's callback. You're going to see a bunch of different callbacks as you're watching this movie. The fact that he went straight for Sabretooth and cut his head off immediately was like, I ain't got time for this. It cut off, and you see Deadpool parading it around. Is this your queen? Literally making Furiosa references, Mad Max and stuff like that. It's absolutely hilarious because, it's a wasteland, so it looks like it. So absolutely hilarious. The jokes are on point as far as, Wade being the mark with the mouth. And throughout the entirety of the process, Cassandra is just coming down like, great, bravo, you did what you do. And she starts, for lack of a better term, fingering everybody that is getting on her nerves. So she sits there and she talks to Johnny Storm, and Wade proceeds to run off at the mouth about all the things that, he has called her, all these negative things, all these derogatory things that I will not repeat here, but there's a lot of things. And just basically saying she is like the lowest form of filth, and I don't want to deal with her. She can do this and do that, and suck on this and kiss that. So absolutely hilarious. And of course, he's vehemently denying all this stuff, and Wade's just kind of going off at the handle about it. She ends up doing nothing but a flick of her wrist, rips the skin off of Johnny Storm, and leaves him to drop there as a pile of bones, and then continues to finger around inside everybody because she's got to touch people to lay hands. She is the twin of Charles Xavier, so she is a powerful psychic, but she has to lay hands on people to really kind of get into their head. So with that being said, she's got to be hands-on. Everything that she does, if you can keep her at a distance, you'll kind of be okay, but that didn't really work out for Johnny Storm because she just kind of ripped the skin off of him. So how does her powers work exactly? Just depends on what she to get in your head, she's got to touch you. Everything else, she can still physically do stuff to you, I guess, and do damage to you, heal herself, so on and so forth. So they end up having to escape, and they use some kind of rocket leg to escape. I got to get another look at that. I'm going to go see the movie again, people. Don't worry. I'm going to see this movie probably at least 4 times this weekend. But they end up escaping on some kind of little rocket leg to kind of get away, and they know they have to find other people to figure out how to get out of here or go towards some kind of area. So in the process of rocketing off with that rocket leg, they end up running into Dogpool at some point in time. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. They end up going to this little bar where he finds food. So he finds some Spam. So eating some Spam and some rubbing alcohol because this Logan needs to drink constantly because I guess he's kind of trying to drown his troubles or whatever burden he's hanging on to. Alcohol is the only thing that's helping him kind of forget it. But again, his super metabolism, I don't even know how much alcohol he needs to consume to make himself forget or relax from all that kind of stuff. But Deadpool kind of opens up and is like, yo, we're trying to figure this stuff out. We got to figure what's going on. They should be, whatever they can do, the TVA, they should be able to fix your timeline. Maybe they can fix what's going on or what happened, what's wrong. So just bear with me and let's kind of get this stuff done. So that's kind of what they do. And they end up kind of setting off to find out, where they need to go. And that's when they run into Dogpool. Dogpool is this ugly little freaking dog. It's ugly, but it's adorable at the same time. Got the tongue hanging outside the face. You've seen it in the trailer. Absolutely hilarious that this dog comes up and it's just licking the crap out of Wade, and Wade is just in love with this dog. So again, they got a connection, and then we see Nice Pool, Ryan Reynolds with the freaking wonderful face and the long freaking surfer hair, and he is just like, I'm Nice Pool. I'm here to be a great guy and sort of that. But that's Dog Pool is his dog, and he's got these nice gold plated pistols. And Deadpool, our Wade is just jealous. So of course, after some talking and reluctantly giving up Dogpool, they end up getting none other than the Honda Odyssey that Nice Pool let them borrow to head in the direction to go find the people that can help them figure out what they need to do next. So as they start heading off in that direction to go figure that stuff out, they end up having an argument on the way. They're trying to kind of fight with each other because Wade eventually comes clean and says, I made an educated wish about what they're going to do for you. Whereas Logan thought he was on the assumption like, you knew that they could do this for me. You knew that they could fix my timeline or do this. And now you're telling me that you don't know what they can do. You're making an educated wish that they can fix my timeline. They could fix what's wrong. So now Logan's mad and he's pissed off. So he's like, I'm tired of you. So he ends up berating Wade, talking about how everything's a joke to you. The real joke is being played on us because you're so freaking annoying and you can't die. And now we're just stuck here with you. And I'm just tired of your stuff. And of course, Richie said something that kind of struck Wade. And Wade was like, well, you know what? We're going to fight now. It's like that. And they end up going at it. Now, the other fight that I kind of skipped over was the Wasteland fight. We already kind of saw that happen in the trailers for that. That's why I didn't beat a dead horse. When they first got there, they got into the Wasteland fight. It's like that. It wasn't nothing spectacular. It is everything that you saw in the trailer. So this fight here inside the car was a much better fight. They end up scrapping, and it looked like they was going, till sunrise. Like they was scrapping the entire night, literally beating the crap out of each other. And then it eventually ended with Wade tied up in seatbelts, and both of them sleep in the van, but they were asleep hard enough or passed out hard enough or regenerating or whatever the case be, that someone came and found the van and drove the van off to take them somewhere. So now I was like, okay, what's this mystery? Well, eventually they end up waking up and they end up finding out that they're in a lair of the other guys that were there with Johnny Storm. And this is where we get some really, really, really good cameos. They were found by none other than X-23, Laura Kinney, the one dafnekeen that we saw from Logan. She saved them. She brought them to the lair. And we see Wesley Snipes as Blade. We see Jennifer Garner as Elektra. And we see Channing Tatum as Gambit. Talk about fan service. They really went in. So if you got Channing Tatum, he's doing the voice and everything. Like he's, that Cajun voice, like he's, really from Louisiana. He's trying to work that, and don't nobody know. Deadpool don't really know what he's saying, but he's just talking. Some of the stuff that he's saying hilarious. Like this is some of the stuff that Tony would say. So that absolutely hilarious. Everything he's kind of going. Daredevil is mentioned at one point, and Jennifer Garner Elektra is kind of like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Completely wrote him off. Like, I ain't worried about him. And then Wesley Snipes, who was just like, yo, he's still got that Blade persona. Although he's much, he seems much smaller and stuff like that, of course, now. But he's still got that aura of Blade about him. And it's funny because if you remember in Blade 3, Ryan Reynolds, he played a character. And with him playing that character, he had that interaction with Blade. So they were back and forth. It was that Hannibal. So it's nice to see that little interaction there with them. Like, I got a feeling that you never liked me. It's like, yeah, definitely came from Priestman. So they're definitely doing all the callbacks, all that fun stuff. Definitely makes a lot of sense for these characters. And these are characters that kind of got unceremoniously, I guess, scrapped because there was no finishing their stories and whatever kind of was going on with them. So this is kind of, again, like them kind of closing chapters. I think they're kind of tying up loose ends, so to speak. I didn't really know what to think of it then. And as far as the setup goes, they're like, okay, well, maybe we can get inside the base and actually try to get home. We can actually finish and cement our legacy or whatever we're trying to do. So like everybody gets all in on it except Logan. And Logan's like, yo, I don't want to do this because this is y'all fight, not mine. Like I've never been the right guy. So that I'm the wrong guy for this. And Laura, is like, yeah, you've always been the wrong guy. That's just what it is. And she walks away with that. So they're trying to, figure out and get bolstered up for a plan to go back because like there's got to be something. Nova knows how to get us back. We've got to go back in there and we've got to subdue her. And the way they came up to subdue her was Magneto's already dead and say he was already killed. So we need a helmet, and the helmet was crushed and melted down because that was one of the few things that could stop her and keep her from being able to do everything she's doing to everybody. So what they end up doing is like, let's go get Juggernaut's helmet. Because Juggernaut's helmet had similar capabilities to stop all the mind, twisting and all that kind of stuff. So that's the plan. We got to get Juggernaut's helmet. So basically, everything sets up for the fight. Everybody gets ready to go in. We find out that Pyro is working with Paradox behind Nova's back because he wants to get out of there. So he's been told that, hey, you need to take out Nova and I can get you out of there because, again, Nova's just kind of toying with her food, so to speak. And Paradox isn't happy about that because Paradox, his whole plan right now is to get this Time Ripper and just start pruning timelines again because the TVA is not doing it. That's his whole end game right there is I want to use this Time Ripper to start doing what the TVA won't do anymore. That's his whole purpose. I'm trying to end this stuff and be done with it. So Pyro's got to go deal with Nova. Paradox can finish getting his Time Ripper in order. Yeah. So basically, they hit the attack on the compound. Attack on the compound, bunch of gratuitous violence. It's pretty much cameos versus cameos. Like everybody's kind of scrapping at this point. So and it's not just light scrapping where it's like we're just gonna fight with that till no, people are getting dead. Like you got people's getting chopped up at the ankles, stabbed. Like they are getting mercilessly destroyed throughout this compound and so like that. Everybody's putting in work. Electra's putting in work. Gambit's putting in work. Blade's putting in work. So that like they are doing the thing the entire time. We ended up getting Juggernaut versus X-23, which is great because during that fight, she ends up taking off his head. Absolutely. Oh, well, she takes him out of the ankles actually, and then freaking she takes his head because she takes that helmet. While they're dealing with that, Wolverine and Deadpool are up top dealing with Nova. Nova who's slapping around. But here's where we get the full exposition of Logan. She actually reaches in his brain and finds out like what went wrong with him. What did he do? So at that, because again, he was wearing the yellow suit underneath his regular clothes when he was found at the bar. All right, I didn't mention that before. I'm mentioning it now. Like he was wearing his suit on there. So the reason he was wearing the suit so that is because he never wanted to be part of X-Men. Scott always asked him to wear the uniform. He never would wear it because he didn't want them to think that he was part of the team. He's used to being a loner. So the fact is, he ended up going to the bar and just getting absolutely smashed and stuff. And when that happened, the humans decided to go hunting. And they went hunting for the X-Men, and they ended up taking out all the X-Men. They took out everybody while he was smashed at the bar. So that's why he feels bad and he feels guilty about everything because he wasn't doing what he needed to do. He wasn't there to protect the team, nothing. And he feels guilty about that. So he wears the suit as a reminder of everything that he's, been through and everything that he needs to remember about the team because Charles loved everybody. Charles took care of everybody with that. And he wasn't there to help when help was needed. So he feels bad about that. And that's been messing with him. So he's finally coming to terms with that and just coming to terms with his grief. And, Nova's, helping him out inadvertently because, again, he needs to come to this and understand what his place is in this process. While Nova's toying with Wolverine, so with that, Laura gets up there and gets the helmet up there, and Deadpool is able to put it on her to stop her whole psychic attack. But in the process of that, we actually have Pyro show up and put a couple rounds in Nova for that. So now she's dying, and Logan's like, well, this isn't what Charles would want. Charles, as much as I want it and just end it right now, Charles wouldn't want this. Charles wanted me to save her, and he kind of appeals to her. So like Charles would save you if he knew about you and knew you were here. He would do everything he can to come and get you and save you. And she has a moment. She has a little heart-to-heart moment, and she's like, she kept saying like, "You take this helmet off, I'm gonna kill you. Like I'm gonna take you guys out." But when they took it off, because Logan was like, "Yo, take it off. Like I'll deal with whatever. Take it off." She healed herself. She stayed alive. She didn't kill nobody, and she was just like, "All right, well." I had one guy come through, and he was like a wizard of sorts or something like that, and she basically breaks out the sling ring, and she's like, "This will get you home with that." And she bam works the sling ring, opens up the portal, but Eliath is on the way. The big purple monster who eats everybody for that. He's on the way. So like, you gonna go? You got to go now. So they end up running to jump through the portal. So with that, while everybody else is kind of left to deal with Eliath, and that's just kind of it for them as far as we know. Basically, once they arrive back in their city and so with that, Paradox comes out. It's like, why are you here? You don't need to be here. And the portal ends up opening up a second time after a little bit of talking. Portal ends up opening again, and there's Nova, because she got all the information from Pyro about what Pyro was doing, and Pyro didn't want to get his brain messed with by her fingers, so he just told her everything for that. So she ends up taking Pyro out. Like she brings him through the portal, kills him, and is like, okay, y'all need to go. Throws Deadpool and Logan through the window, finger faces the Paradox for that, and it takes him downstairs because she finds out all about the time, the Time Ripper, and she's gonna go utilize it herself, and she's gonna just start ending stuff because that's what she wants to do. You didn't want to play nice with me. I stayed in my place and just sat there. You decided to come send somebody after me. Well, now I'm gonna tear the fence down. I'm gonna tear everything else down around it. So that's her whole goal right now. In the process of that, she called out the Deadpool Corps, and she's like, the Deadpool Corps is coming. So you got 100 Deadpools. That's Kid Pool, freaking Head Pool. That's Dog Pool, Nice Pool. Everybody showed up. Lady Pool, so she's there. Who is being played by Blake Lively, as if there was any other guest. So she's there, as well. But again, you never see her without the mask, so we just know that it's her because it was in the credits. But now you got all these Deadpools with that, and they're there to stop Wade and Logan from getting to Nova. So basically, what's happening is after what you're talking, Nice Pool is there, and he's trying to talk to Deadpool, and Deadpool ends up sacrificing Nice Pool to the onslaught of bullets from the Deadpools. But when we find out that Nice Pool does not have a regenerative healing factor, so he pretty much just dies right then and there, and that gives Deadpool access to Dogpool and these lovely gold-plated pistols. In the process of this, Logan decides, like, hey, we about to get serious. Stuff's going to go down. And he decides to pull on the mask that he's had hidden behind the entire time. And now we get the full-on Deadpool, Wolverine in the mask. Sleeves are off already. Like, here we go. Let's freaking go. This is what we've been waiting on. This is the whole comic accurate, suit. This is life right here. Like, I was crying tears of joy. So they go and they attack and stuff. And so you see Wolverine and Deadpool take on the entire core of Deadpool. Just Baby Pool there, keep again, everybody. So they're just kind of going in and they're taking out everybody. And it's a great little montage. Now there's some CGI in there that's some bad CGI. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. There is some bad CGI throughout the course of this movie. But yeah, remember this kind of happened during I think one of the writer strikes with that. So certain things weren't able to be done, reshoots weren't able to be done. So kind of whatever, CGI may have been done, whatever it is. So whatever they had to work with is what they kind of had to work with, but they had deadlines and timelines for all this stuff anyway. But either way, they fight through all of them. So again, you see everybody, you see, Cowboy Pool and stuff like that, everything, Samurai Pool, like everybody is there. So they all get taken out. And after they all get taken out, they all end up regenerating because they're Deadpools. So they're not really gonna not go anywhere. So it's kind of like there's just no point to any of that. It was just kind of more of a time waster more than anything. But as they're getting ready to reattack and go after him, we see another Deadpool show up. This Deadpool is actually Peter Pool. This one is threw me for a loop because his costume was in Peter's locker earlier. And he said, I keep a costume. He always said, we're Deadpool. He was saying at the beginning of the movie. So now it comes up, he is Peter Pool. And apparently every Deadpool has a Peter. That's just their thing. That can mean a couple different things depending on how you want to take it. But it's just a simple fact that they have, Peter Pool was there, and Peter Pool was the one that was able to calm all the Deadpools down because they all respect Peter Pool. He was like, hey, yo, leave them. Like, everybody's hanging around me. So Deadpool and Logan, they're able to slip off, down there to go find out what's going on with Paradox and Cassandra. They go down there to find Paradox, like, hey, what's going on? You're going to tell us what's up, and basically find out that there's, these two chambers that lead down that are powering the machine that she's on, and she's about to rip apart all the timelines that she can, starting with this one. And she's inside the machine, and she's already going to work. So you see the degradation kind of going down. So once, Paradox coughs up, this is what's going to happen. We also see B13. She's got a whiff of what's going on, and she's investigating everything in the process. So they go down there. Wolverine's like, I got nothing. You got family and stuff like that. Freaking, I'll make the sacrifice. They get the door open. Deadpool tricks them. Hey, I'm going in. I'm making the sacrifice because it's bigger than just me. Whatever. Great noble moment. Then he does all the funny stuff, which is absolutely hilarious. And he goes. And so it's matter and antimatter. So it's two different things. Once you grab both, you got matter and antimatter entering you, you will be destroyed. There is no other way around it. Your regenerative factor is not going to kick in and do anything. You will go down. You will be destroyed. That is it. So Deadpool's in there and Wolverine's trying to get in. Like, what are you doing? He's beating on the door and beating on the door. Deadpool ends up taking one of them. So with that, gets the cords, gets the stuff wrapped around him. The energy is flowing through him. So with that, and he's trying to reach the other one, but he cannot reach the other one. And what do we get? You kind of see it coming. Wolverine finally breaks in, breaks through the other side, and they end up holding hands. So with that, so now the power is surging from one side through Wolverine, the other side through Deadpool, connecting in the middle. So with that, and they are fighting and taking as much of it as possible. While the upstairs, the degradation is kind of going back and forth, and they're trying to fight against Nova more or less to get it figured out. And eventually, of course, Hugh Jackman's freaking stuff rips off. So his freaking well-chiseled body is out there for all to see. And you see Deadpool having a moment. So like that, he was talking about that because he was making jokes earlier about how he put on weight after the divorce. Nothing was off the table. So they were making jokes about everything. Ryan Reynolds' old movies, Hugh Jackman's divorce, like just a bunch of stuff, and everything was fair game. So in the process of this, they end up having a big explosion. Everything's destroyed. Cassandra seems like she's wiped out. You see her kind of get destroyed and get burnt up type deal, whatever. So with that, and we see B13 show up to investigate what's going on. Paradox is like, hey, they didn't make it, whatever, and he's lying his butt off about, well, this is what happened, and telling B13 like, I don't know what went wrong, and we were trying to do everything, and we didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And you see Wolverine and Deadpool walk out, and they're alive, and they're talking trash, and Paradox is like, crap, and he basically ends up getting arrested. We found out that B13's got the hots for Peter Pool, because he looks really sexy in a uniform, and his uniform is very snug, put it that way. But they ask about Wolverine's timeline, and basically she say like, hey, we can't fix your timeline because the timeline, what's done is done, but we wouldn't be able to have this where it is now, where your timeline is now regenerating and doing what it needs to do. Like it's actually, back building. Like it's straight going through and being what it needs to be as far as the timeline is concerned. So with that being said, Wolverine looks like he's reestablished as an anchor point more or less in his timeline, but will he stay? That's the thing that we don't know. Deadpool and him end up going to have some shawarma because they're talking about the Avengers because they could eat, and there's nothing else can be done because this Wolverine here was made by the experiences that he had. So trying to change the past and all that kind of stuff, changes him. It doesn't work. Whatever, whatever they came up with exactly. I'm gonna watch it again. Let's do it again. But it doesn't work, and it needs to be, him as he is right now, and he can choose to stay, just kind of be whatever. Deadpool ends up talking to like, hey, I had some friends that helped us. Is there any way that you can, take care of them or whatever? Now, again, I don't know what that entails because we saw everybody still alive when Eliath kind of came in and did his swoop thing. But we do see is after they have the shawarma, we see Dogpool show up. Dogpool is still hanging around. Dogpool comes to hang out and stay with Wade because Nicepool is gone. And we also see Laura Kinney. She has made it, and she is there hanging out at the get together with everybody. So they have another get together where everybody's together with Blind Al and Vanessa and Colossus and Yukio and Nigga Santeen's Warrior, like, Dopender. Everybody's together and stuff, and they're back enjoying themselves. And you see Vanessa and that kind of relationship kind of re-spark a little bit because I guess he's kind of found his purpose and he's more himself. So, and you see Logan kind of take the dog. It's like, hey, talk to her, kind of figure it out. So it looks like Logan's going to stick around this timeline and kind of hang out. So that's a great thing there. And other than that, I mean, that's about it. We get the end credit scene where Johnny Storm was talking about, he didn't say all that stuff before he got his skin ripped off. He didn't say none of the stuff that was being said about, Cassandra that made her mad enough to rip his skin off. But come to find out, he did say everything and much more because it was all recorded by a camera that was inside the cage they were being transported in. So yes, he actually said all those really nasty things about her. So she was, I guess, well within her mind to do what she did to him because he was lying and he actually said all those things. So that's absolutely hilarious in itself. But this movie was done, it looks like, to establish, closure for certain timelines and kind of fix some things as far as Deadpool's continuity goes. Because, we keep jumping back and forth with the timeline thing. And they were trying to figure out what to do with him. He said that he destroyed it after he finished jumping back and forth with it and cleaning up the timeline and doing some of the stuff he's done. They made jokes about how Marvel was in a good place, freaking as far as their movie wise, stuff was going on, and that kind of multiverse stuff is kind of done. It's kind of one of the jokes that was being made, like trying to finish off doing multiverse stuff. So this movie still doesn't serve as Deadpool officially joining the MCU in terms of being part of the Avengers or working with other, heroes and stuff like that. It still seems like it's still a standalone right now with Wolverine and Deadpool and X-23 and Colossus, and that kind of whole mutant timeline is kind of there within its own right, and it's still within its own timeline, which is 10005, something like that, I think it was. So it looks like what they're going to do, possibly, again, I don't know, is that the Avengers and all that stuff are still working on their own timeline and they're doing their own thing there. But it looks like the X-Men kind of timeline, which is pretty much where Deadpool and Wolverine is going to run concurrent or kind of run their own thing if they're going to continue on. Because they can just leave it here as a standalone film, so to speak, just the third of the trilogy and stuff like that, and just be done. And that's it. They don't have to do anything else with it if they don't want to, or they can continue on kind of pushing forward whatever it is they want to do with it. That's up to them. But then again, it's just a rough draft of, I guess, of whatever theories are going to go through my head in the next day or two as I continue to watch the movie and see what else comes up with. But they can absolutely continue on with the X-Men in this timeline because the X-Men in Logan's timeline are gone, but the X-Men in Deadpool's timeline are still here as far as we know. So some of that can come together, some of that can be fixed. Something can happen at some point in time. Don't know how long Hugh Jackman's going to continue playing Wolverine, if he just kind of came back for this one thing, if they're going to just use him to cameo and kickstart an X-Men universe, like an MCU type thing, just running concurrently, or what. I don't know yet, but I'm happy with the movie. If I can give it a number, 1 to 10 and stuff like that, yeah, I think 8 is the right number for that. Like, a lot of great fan service, a lot of good exposition for characters and making characters back relevant again to finish out and close out certain storylines. So a lot of stuff makes sense. Like even though Sabretooth had a small part in here, it closed out a chapter that needed to be closed out. It was something that was ongoing from X-Men Origins Wolverine, back in the day. So it was great to see that and have some of that closure and stuff like that. Just comments that were made so that was the original Sabretooth, I believe, from the original X-Men movies and stuff like that. But again, the comment was made from the X-Men Origins movie where Deadpool was. So again, they just kind of married the two together and created the scene to give closure to everything. So absolutely fantastic job as far as a fun-filled film. Like definitely had a blast, definitely enjoyable, definitely watchable a couple times for that to kind of catch everything. That as far as replayability, right now, good. In the future, unless you again know about everything that's going on with Fox and how the MCU and stuff works with that, you watching it later on, you might not understand unless you go do the research and know about how the acquisitions and stuff worked. So like Deadpool 1, you can just kind of watch and stuff like that, and some of the jokes are made, but because he breaks the fourth wall and a lot of stuff, relevancy is going to be a thing. So again, if somebody down the line is watching 20 years, they got to know what's going on. So that's a big thing there. I think that they can still do a lot with this property if they wanted to kind of segue into other stuff. So that's it. That's all I got for now. I'm going to talk with Brent when he gets on, and we're going to have a nice little probably live conversation about some of the stuff. And I'll probably have crafted a bit more theories there, and I'll probably have seen it one or two more times. I'm going to go see it again tomorrow night or later tonight because it's morning right now because I've been up all night thinking about all this stuff. I'm going to see it tonight. So it's Friday. I'm going to see it tonight. I'm going to see it again on Saturday, and we'll do a live on Saturday and talk more about it. So stay tuned. Join us then, and we will get more into it. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit that lovely red subscribe button. Stick around because we are going to be talking about more and more Marvel properties as they come out because we do got Captain America Brave New World on its way. It's definitely something I want to talk about when that comes out because Red Hulk has been shown in the trailer, and that is going to be absolutely fantastic for us to see. Captain America face off against Red Hulk. How is that going to work? And we also have Thunderbolts on the horizon, as well as Agatha and a few other things. So that's it. Marvel is kind of getting back rolling. Let's see what they do with it. Catch y'all in the next one.